Hey, welcome to the Whaler Guys. It's just a Whaler guy tonight. I'm Peter Hindle, write for MR.HOCKEY about Hartford Hockey. And the other guy is Whaler guy Jerry Irwin, who's off on assignment making phone calls, getting ready for a big event that I'm going to tell you about in a couple minutes here. Tonight we're going to do a show. We got, it's funny, here it is, it's June 16th. The Stanley Cup champions are the Pittsburgh Penguins. They won their fourth championship, defeating the San Jose Sharks in Game 6. To win the cup, and Sidney Crosby won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and Andrew the Murray, the goaltender, rookie goaltender, takes it all the way to the Stanley Cup, and now you know that backup goaltender Theo Fleury is probably on the chopping block, but Pittsburgh had their parade, and they did really well. But we're going to talk also tonight about, we finally have a date for our Bristol Blues baseball game, Whaler night at Muzzy Field. We did this last year. Got tremendous response from WFSB, 102.9 The Whale. We had Tony Harrington sing the national anthem. If you remember, he's a guy that sung the national anthem in the XL Center for over 30 years. He's probably done it more than anyone else at the XL Center. And we had a game where the players all wore Whaler hats, and it was a really fun time. We doubled the attendance for the Bristol Blues, and the owners enjoyed last year's so much that they want us to do it again. So we're going to do it again on July 8th. It's a Friday night, so you can get there and watch a baseball game. And our headliner guest is the Zambonis. They are on a national circuit, entertaining around the country. The Zambonis have been at it for about 25 years. We met them back in September, where we did a podcast and a TV show with them about their band and about their love for their hockey and of course the Whale. Dave Snyder is the leader of the band, and he's always in Kelly Green, so he's always got his Whaler stuff on. The Zambonis have played at the NHL All-Star Game at Winterfest. They played at Whaler Fest, the outdoor hockey game in February of 2011. The Zambonis have been around a long time, wrote a lot of great hockey songs. In particular, they have some new songs that we heard back in September. One's called Captain, which is a really great hockey song about, being a captain, being a leader, being there for your players, your teammates, your friends. And then they also had a really funny one that said, don't pick a fight with Chara, which, not being really a Bruin fan, I can totally agree with that. You do not want to pick a fight with Chara. That's just not a good thing to do. It's another great song. So the Zambonis will play a pregame concert. They will play, a little bit between innings. And also there will be a post-game concert. So it looks like, it'll be a fun night. We'll also have, we've invited Bob Joyce from WTIC. And we've also invited Peter Good, who is the designer of the Hartford Whalers logo. He has a really important part in Hartford hockey history. If he doesn't design that logo the way it is, there's no telling if the NHL would even stayed or if we would even gotten into the NHL. The logo has been such a driving force for the popularity of this defunct team for 19 years now, going on 20. But the logo is still a top seller, and Peter Good is the guy that designed it all back in 1979. And we're hoping that he can show up at the Bristol Blues game and meet Whaler fans, and you guys can thank him for making what I believe is the greatest logo in sports history. I mean, it's so popular, and you have to understand the team that's been defunct in a small market team, and wherever you go, people recognize the logo. It's just that popular, and it has to do some of that negative spacing. If you see the H between the W and the tail, but Peter Good would be there. That'd be great. And like I said, it'd be July 8th. You can come down in your Whaler gear. We're going to do a live show from there. You can come talk to us, get on the show. You can sit right here, tell us some of your Whaler memories, tell us what you think about the NHL coming back to Hartford. And even if, if anything, just come out to a great ballpark, a historic ballpark that Babe Ruth played at. It's been there for 100 years, over 100 years. And it's a really good time. It's really fun, and the level of baseball is college level. So sometimes there's usually a UConn player or two on the field, and these guys are kind of in what would be like a Cape Cod league where they play over the summer and then go back to their colleges, in the fall. So if you can make it, we're going to keep advertising and putting things out there. We're going to have some giveaways. We're really looking forward to it, and we'll get back into maybe that season ticket drive, and we'll see if we can update you on that license plate drive that was actually launched at the last Bristol Blues game we did, Whaler night. So we're looking forward to that, and we really hope you guys come out. Bring your friends, bring your family, wear your Whaler stuff. We had a ton of fun last year, and we want to make even a bigger splash with the Whale this coming July 8th. It's a Friday night at 7 p.m. in Bristol at Muzzy Field. Our second topic tonight is kind of a tough one for local hockey fans. Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe, has passed away. He passed away on June 10th. It was last Friday, and he was 88 years old in a couple of months. And he had so many incredible years in hockey in general, and even past his playing career, he was still such an important figure, throughout North America, and really, in Hartford. Hartford played a huge part in making Hartford hockey what it is today. And that's just because, to put it in equivalent, it's like Michael Jordan coming back and playing well, but playing for another team that was a small market team, giving something along those lines. It was, like Brett Favre coming back, and playing somewhere, or, an impact player that everybody knows and, just about everybody loves. Gordie Howe played so long in Detroit. He played 25 seasons in Detroit. I played 46 to 71 there, and then he retired, and they retired his number, and he went to the front office of the Detroit Red Wings, and he just wasn't a front office guy. He was a hockey guy. He belonged on the ice. So after a year or two, his wife Colleen, who became really the first female sports agent, in the world, really, she became Gordie's agent, and she needed to do that because she had a head for business. She knew how to make Gordie into a brand. Gordie wasn't interested in that stuff. He didn't really understand it. Matter of fact, there was a story I watched on YouTube where Gordie actually learned that he was making a lot less money than another player. Another player came over and said, "Hey, I'm making this much, you're making that much. Detroit's not treating you right, just so you know." And that's when Gordie realized, I had no idea. So, Colleen got involved, and, she was tough. She was very hard. She drove the best bargain she could, and what happened was Mark and Marty were playing in Houston and for the Arrows of the WHA, the World Hockey Association, and they decided, Gordie, maybe why don't you go play, with your sons? And it was the first time ever in professional sports that a father played with his two sons, on the ice. And he played for the Houston Arrows, and they had 2 back-to-back championships. And here's Gordie Howe, a guy in his late 40s, playing in Houston, still scoring, still being productive. And then, eventually, after a couple years, Howard Baldwin Sr., who was owner of the New England Whalers, had moved them to Hartford and had an opportunity to meet Colleen Howe and see if he could bring the Howe family to Hartford. You talk about all the parts of a story. Everyone's so important. If Howard Baldwin Sr. does not go out and get the Howes and sign them at Hartford, there's a good chance that I'm not doing this TV show tonight. There's a good chance that the Whalers weren't even here. That's how important it was, because you put the greatest hockey player of all time in this little city in Hartford, and he could still be productive. You're talking about a guy who played in Hartford from the years of 49 to 52. I mean, you just don't see players, even in this day and age with all the health aids and everything we have, nobody plays beyond the ages of 44, 43. Even then, they're still, somewhat competitive. Gordie Howe, in his last season playing for the Hartford Whalers, he turned 52 in his last season, played 80 full games. He never missed a game at 51, 52 years old, and he still scored notched 41 points. That's a point every other game better for a guy who's 52 years old. And part of that reason was he had an incredible physique. The guy was just a monster. In over 22 seasons, and I heard this from watching YouTube with Scotty Bowman. Over 22 seasons, he had 20 goals, and the final season there, Scotty Bowman was the coach of the Buffalo Sabres, who had made the conference finals before. So he got to choose his roster for the All-Star game, which was in Detroit. And of course, when he came to the Hartford Whalers, there was just no one else to pick but Gordie Howe. How could you not pick Gordie Howe at the age of 51 years old and like 10 months, have him play in the All-Star game? And he got some flack for that. But when Gordie Howe stepped on the ice at the All-Star game at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, they didn't even mention his name. They just said number 9, Mr. Hockey, and he got a 10-minute standing ovation. It had been the first time he'd returned to the Joe Louis Arena under the Red Wings fans there, and over 25 years. And just got a tremendous round of ovation and everything. And then, on top of that, he ends up getting assist on the game-winning goal for the All-Star game, which I think was 3-2 in favor of the Wales Conference. So if you can imagine a guy, at 52 years old, playing in the All-Star game, playing for Hartford, and his two young sons as well. And they had great stories about Gordie on the ice and what kind of person he was. On the ice, a completely different guy, because off the ice, if you've ever been around Gordie Howe, he seems like he's so laid back. He's very nice. He gets along with everybody. But on the ice, he was a pretty tough, mean guy. There's a good story that Bobby Clark told. Bobby Clark is a famous Philadelphia Flyer and a big part of the Flyers organization, and he happened to go into the boards with Gordie Howe, and Gordie Howe went down. And Gordie Howe glared up at Bobby Clark, and Bobby Clark's first thought was he wanted to apologize to Mr. Howe, because he knew that down the road, later in that period, he was going to get comeuppance. And Bobby Clark said, sure enough, he got me back good. There's another great story about Phil Esposito, who idolized Gordie Howe, and he goes to do the face-off with Gordie Howe for the first time. And as the puck drops, he said Gordie just bopped him in the nose and made Esposito's eyes water, and then they got in an altercation, and next thing you know, they're both in the penalty box, and at that time, the penalty boxes were a lot closer. They used to sit closer, and there'd be a security guard or a police officer between the two guys, and Esposito's got water in his eyes, and his nose was punched. He got a little cut under his mouth there, and he's saying to Gordie Howe, I idolized you. How could you do that to me? I idolized you. And Gordie Howe just looked at him and said, what did you say? And then Phil Esposito said to him, he goes, oh, no, nothing, Mr. Howe, sorry. So that type of thing really happened. You're talking about big, tough hockey players. They had so much respect for Gordie Howe that at the time, but they didn't want to contend with him on the ice because, as his sons say, Marty and Mark Howe say that when they were in Houston and Hartford, anytime that they got hit hard, the next thing they know, the guy that hit them was getting railed by Gordie Howe. So Mark and Marty really had the greatest enforcer probably of all time on their side, because Gordie, it's tough to watch your family get hit and checked. So Gordie every time would go in there and create such a ruckus that he'd get some guy that just hit Mark or Marty Howe, and Mark and Marty Howe were kind of like, hey, we can take a hit. We appreciate you got our back, but boy, you really got our back. It was a funny story that Marty told also on another YouTube video out there. If you can get out there, if you want to see more on Gordie Howe, just type in Gordie Howe for YouTube and you see tons of videos. But Marty Howe, I believe they're playing in Houston, and Marty Howe got checked into the boards, and the opposing player fell on top of him. And a Houston player skated over Marty's teammate and said, hey, to the other guy, get off him, let him get up. And the guy was still laying on top of Marty Howe, wouldn't get up. Then Gordie Howe skated over and said, let him up. And the guy said, hey, I'm not hurting him. And that's when Gordie stuck his glove under his arm, took his hand out of his glove, and shoved two fingers in the guy's nose and pulled him up by his nose. And the guy got up so quick, like he said, well, I'm up. He's getting up. He's getting pulled by his nose. So those are just some great stories. And like I said, if you've seen Gordie off the ice, that was one of the greatest things I did was I got to see Gordie Howe. I didn't really speak to him. I was at a point where I could just sit back and watch him interact with fans. And this was really Hartford Hockey's final curtain call for the Howe family. If you remember it, it happened on March 26, 2011. It was actually the first day I got a media pass to the XL Center. It was courtesy of the Whaler Sports and Entertainment at Connecticut Whale. I got a media pass. I knew it was Howe family night, and I knew Gordie Howe, Mark Howe, and Marty Howe were there. Unfortunately, by this time, Colleen had passed away in 2009, so she wasn't there. However, there was a banner raising with all the Howe's jerseys on it, and they did have a jersey for Colleen because she really was a part of all that. And, seeing Gordie Howe before the game do these autographs with kids and old people and young people and, all kinds of women, men, everybody you can imagine. And he would take these selfies, and every time he'd have an elbow up there or he'd have a fist underneath the guy's chin, and everyone's smiling. And just everybody loved Gordie Howe. He was a really nice guy. And that night was the last night that Gordie Howe was ever on the Hartford Civic Center ice. And you kind of knew it. It was 5 years ago. He was, 83 around there. And, it was a couple days before his birthday, actually. His birthday is March 31st. But that night was the final curtain call for his night in Hartford. And 10,000 people came about to see him. And say farewell and thanks, because he was just that important to Hartford. And to this day, since he passed away last week, immediately there were calls to retire his number in every NHL building. And there's also been a call to build a statue at the XL Center. Actually have a Gordie Howe statue with him in his Whaler gear, because so many people appreciated the fact that he brought himself to Hartford, and he brought a hockey culture to really Hartford, put them on the map. I mean, everybody knew now Gordie Howe was back in the NHL, and it was in Hartford, Connecticut. Even when he passed away, President Barack Obama released a statement and said, they've had condolences out to Hockey Town, which is Detroit, the people in Houston, and the people in Hartford. So you have the President of the United States recognizing Gordie Howe's achievements in Hartford and how important Hartford fans were, up to Gordie Howe, how much he meant to all of us. So it was really, impressive, and they had him in repose a couple days ago at Joe Louis Arena, and they had his jersey lowered, and the 4 championship banners were lowered, and there's a long line of procession of people, everybody on the ice. They had the projections of the number 9 on the ice, and then they had a long table of all kinds of memorabilia, and it was almost like a timeline, because you got towards the end of the table, you saw his Houston Aeros gear, and when he played in Houston, and then at the end they had his Hartford Whaler and New England Whaler pieces to his legacy of hockey. And it's like I said, he was 88 years old, and it was really sad to see him on his birthday. Actually, his last birthday, his 88th birthday, he made an appearance at Joe Louis Arena with Mark Howe and his family, and they sang happy birthday to him, and he could recognize they were singing happy birthday, but you could tell the mind, he just wasn't there. He wasn't, with the quality of life just didn't look so good. It didn't seem like he was competent or coherent to where he kind of was. But so it was kind of tough to see that, and to know that a couple months later, here we are, and he's passed away, and it's a huge loss. And I have this really great story that I'm going to tell you that came from Howard Baldwin Sr. We reached out to Howard Baldwin Sr. and we said, boy, we'd love to hear a little moment or a little story or something in your history with Gordie Howe. And within minutes he got back to us. So let me go ahead and read that to you here. This is about Gordie Howe and Colleen and Howard Baldwin Jr., Howard's son. So I'm going to read that to you now, and here's Howard Baldwin's statement. He says, "I knew the Howes were my kind of folks early on. After one negotiation session, which were always above board and friendly, I had to get Colleen and Gordie to the airport. I drove, and Gordie was in the right front seat. In the back was Colleen and Howard Jr., who would have been about 6 or 7 years old at that time. I had just bought Howard Jr. a new pair of boots, which he was so proud of, and we both referred to as his crap kickers. Colleen commented to Howard Baldwin Jr. on what a beautiful pair of boots he had on. When she said it, I knew what was coming out of his mouth. Yes, Howard Baldwin Jr. said, these are my new crap kickers. Colleen and Gordie laughed all the way to the airport, and we always laughed over that story. I knew then and there was nothing phony about Gordie and Colleen. I loved them both dearly. They were the most natural and good people we could ever be blessed to be around. Huge loss." And that's Howard Baldwin's great little story, and it goes to show you how close they really were. Like I said, he does a great job there of telling you, the first statement he says right out of the box, I knew they were my kind of people. And he tells you, when they had the little joke there, they all liked it, and they all laughed about it, and they remembered it. And I even talked to Howard Baldwin Jr. about it, and he kind of chuckled because he remembers his crap-kicking boots. And that was, his childhood was pretty incredible, being around Gordie Howe, being a young kid, and being around, Kevin Dean and Ron Francis later. So that's why Hartford means so much to them, because they've had so many great memories here. And, the Howes have too. So, Whaler guys we're really, we're happy to be able to be talking about these stories and bringing these memories. We hope that if you guys have stories or memories of Gordie Howe, and you want to contact us, go ahead and you can check out our Facebook page, The Whaler Guys, or we're on Twitter at Whalers Brigade. We also have Instagram at _Whalers_guys. And you also can contact us by our email, phindle, that's PHINDLE 19 @gmail.com. And Jerry Irwin, of course, is jewhaler13@gmail.com. So share your Gordie Howe stories, because there's a lot out there, and we love hearing them. And like I said, Howard Baldwin Sr.'s was a great little story that we got, and we were very thankful that he was be able to pass on that, share that with us, that little moment he had. So as we look forward, though, the NHL has big news supposedly. So this June 22nd, the NHL is actually going to apparently announce a new expansion franchise in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you can imagine that, there's a new arena there. Apparently they have 17,000 season ticket holders for this new arena, and not all of it is casino comp tickets. And the plan is the investor there, Foley, is planning on naming the team the Black Knights. Apparently he was a West Point graduate. Of course, the West Point Black Knights, as they were known, that was their mascot. And so he, I think, plans to, in memory of the Army mascot, called the team the Las Vegas Black Knights. So with 17,000 season tickets, and with everyone pointing to the NHL definitely making an expansion announcement, on June 22nd is when the Board of Governors actually meet, and that's when they would vote on this expansion piece. So, but everyone's pointing to that all signs are a go. And it was kind of disappointing to hear from the Hartford Courant, because they had actually put in something on their Facebook page announcing the Las Vegas team becoming an expansion franchise, and they had put in their Facebook post title, "Bad news for Hartford Whaler fans," which is not true. Actually, the NHL going to Las Vegas is actually a good thing for Hartford, and I'll tell you why. Hartford was invited to make an expansion bid. I don't know if people realize that, but the NHL, I keep telling everybody, yeah, the NHL knows what's going on in Hartford. Maybe they're not jumping at Hartford, but they know what's going on in Hartford. And the NHL offered, Hartford to make a bid for an expansion bid. Hartford did not, because Hartford, the investment group, and I'm sure Governor Malloy probably aren't in the business of trying to, negotiate getting an expansion bid at $500 million. Not when they can purchase a team for probably under $300 million. So, well, not Malloy, but the investment group, of course. But that's just how this process goes. The Hartford was not going to make this $500 million expansion bid. So the reason that it's good that the NHL is going to Vegas in expansion is because there's teams that are going to relocate, we believe, at some point. You have to think that with the problems in Carolina, with the problems in Phoenix, with the problems, with New Jersey losing a lot of money at the Prudential Center, with Florida's kind of shaky ground on attendance and things like that. You got to think that one of these teams, even the Islanders, are playing in a building that has a certain, like 17% of the seats are obstructed views, which is not making the fans happy. And of course, Brett Yormack, the CEO of the Barclays Center, is not making the fans happy by saying, just watch the game on your phone. So my point is, these other teams need a relocation site, and with Las Vegas out of the picture, that means Hartford moves up a spot. In other words, the next team that wants to relocate, they can't go to Vegas. They're going to have to go to either Hartford or Kansas City or Hamilton or Quebec or, some other place, Virginia City. But again, we're talking about options for teams to go to for relocation. Vegas is off the board, so that's, one off the notch. And, I always say it as Hartford has a horse in the race. Maybe a nag, maybe it'll be a dark horse and, finish in there. But, getting through this Excel Center process is key, especially, if this investment group is real. We've heard, all rumors, of course, but we've heard the investment group is very, very large. We're talking about billions of dollars in the $15 billion range with multiple partners. So, if that holds water, that's where the chances for Hartford lie. And the expansion part, let Quebec get an expansion team too. That'll cross them off the list and move Hartford up another spot. So, that's what we're looking at. I never tell anyone it's a guarantee. I always tell you it's a process. It takes years, unfortunately. I mean, the XL Center next summer they're doing the ice sheet, and to make that, good enough for any team to use, any hockey team to use, without any chance of, some kind of failure, or because right now that ice sheet is critical. It's very old, it's ancient. I told you about the guy that's got the thumb on his leak. So you're talking about the ice sheet being that critical. You get that done. And then after that, a team can actually play in the XL Center while they do the major renovation work over several summers. And that's not that out of this world. If you remember when the Whalers left Hartford, they went to Carolina. They went to Raleigh, Carolina, and they didn't have an arena there, so they had to play in Greensboro, North Carolina. And meanwhile, the arena was built in Raleigh, so they played for 3 seasons in Greensboro. So very well, a team could play in the XL Center with a brand new ice sheet and chillers, brand new chillers, moved across the way. And, you could have a team play for a couple of seasons while the major renovation work is done on the second concourse. That's what's going to make it. And again, even if the NHL doesn't come, this renovation process is probably still going to get done because UConn has signed a long-term agreement. They signed intent for a long-term agreement. In other words, they're saying that they'll be interested in playing for 20 years at the XL Center if this renovation process continues. And I can't tell you how much money the state and the UConn would lose if they weren't able to play in Hartford. They're making so much money off of having great attendance. I remember UConn last year had 6 Tuesday night games, and they outdrew just about every other Hockey East team on weeknights. They do so well on weeknights, 5,700 on weeknights average. And through the whole 15 games, I think they had around a 5,300 average around there. Third place in Hockey East, but they led in the playoffs. And, after talking to the CRDA, one of the reasons is concessions and amenities. The UConn fans, they come to watch these games. They buy beers, they buy hot dogs, they buy things. So it's a much more crowd that has a lot more money in their pocket to spend. So they have discretionary income. Where you don't see that as much with the AHL or with the women's basketball, for instance. There's not as much concessions bought as there is for hockey. Hockey is like tops at the XL Center for concessions buying and when UConn plays. And this year, UConn is already set to play 14 games at the XL Center. We did get a list of teams that they're going to play. And they actually start off with something kind of funny, Alabama-Huntsville, October 7th and 8th at the XL Center. So they'll be playing a non-conference game. And, they have some great games lined up. We're talking about Friday, November 18th would be your Boston University game. That's always a high attended game. Boston College game would be November 22nd. So that'll be another game where, Boston College, big attendances. When they play BU and Boston College, they get into the 7-8K range. Now we also have Sacred Heart on the 26th, which is a good local game. And, UMass Lowell, which, will be a really tough match on December 3rd. That'll be a Saturday. And this will be a really good game on Saturday, January 7th. They play Yale. So you see UConn-Yale, another good UConn-Yale-Connecticut matchup. Then they go down to Vermont, Merrimack, Providence, Northeastern, and New Hampshire for 14 games this year. So make sure you get out to the UConn games, because if you want to hear Brass Bonanza when they score, we believe that with the schedule is now going towards more weeknights, Fridays and Saturdays, you're probably going to see the attendance kick up a little bit. So, but yeah, we're out of time here, so we're going to wrap it up. My name is Peter Hindle again. I'm the Whaler Guys. We're trying to bring back the NHL, so we hope you're watching. And if you got suggestions for us, please reach out to us, contact us. My email address is phindle, Phindle, at 19@gmail.com. And Jerry Owen, my counterpart, his email address is jewhaler13@gmail.com. So until next time, remember, we're Whaler fans, and we're one nation under green. Have a good night.